All right, hey guys, it's Miss Black. Obviously I'm not here today, so I wanted to give you guys a tutorial on what you're going to be using and thinking about as you practice with color. This is just kind of crucial practice that's going to help you understand color theory a little bit further, and it's also going to help you make the decision, do I want to draw my landscape in pen with just black and white, or do I want to use color and color theory? Either way, we're covering all of your bases. So for first period, I know, or for 1B, I know you guys got this far. And then for 2B, I know you guys only got to this point. And so I'm just going to explain what we've done beyond that. So we created the 12 like sort of natural hues. We've got primary, we've got secondary, and we've got tertiary, which another word for that is just intermediate. So you're going to have those 12 hues, and I would suggest, if you haven't already, I'm pretty sure that I explained that you should probably put different shapes around each group just to keep it organized, and you'll find out why later. But so I've just kind of labeled this. I have a little legend over here. So I've got primary as my circle, so you should probably do that with whatever with other shape you've done. Secondary is a square, and tertiary is the hexagon. And again, I'll explain why that's important later. What I'll have you guys do in 2B, since you didn't have a chance to do this, is you're going to repeat the same process that we went through to get these 12 colors. So, but I'm not going to be sadistic. You can go ahead and just grab your secondary colors. You don't have to mix them like we did originally. So just orange, just green, just purple. And then you can mix your primary with your secondary to get your tertiary. So you're going to have 12 hues inside and 12 hues on the outside. On the inside, I want you to go ahead and add white to each of those hues, which is called tints. So it's just a lighter version of the color. And then on the outside, repeat that again, and then you're just going to add a little bit of black to it to create a shade of the color. Okay, so all in all, you're going to have 36 different swatches, light, regular, and dark of each of the 12 hues that we began with. Okay, the last thing that we need to do to kind of prep ourselves for what this practice is going to be is we need to understand how to change the value of our colors and understand how to do that smoothly. So what I want you to do after you've created this 36 swatch thing is I want you to choose one of the original 12, and I've just chosen blue here. Okay, so I've got blue. I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to think about a value scale just like we did with pencil. So the harder you press, the darker it gets. And then as it lightens out, as I am taking away pressure, my color is getting lighter and lighter. So what I want you to do is go from as dark as your pencil will go to as light as your pencil will go until eventually you just get to the paper, right? So I'm going to release pressure, and now I'm to the other side where it's just like nothing. So that's where you're starting. You're going to kind of add shades and tints to this as well. So I'm going to grab my white, I'm going to grab my black, and we're going to kind of label this as well. Let me make sure that we're doing this. So on this side, we're going to have shades. Okay, or shades, I guess more than one. And what I want you to do right next to your darkest, whatever color of those 12 you chose, right next to the darkest your pencil went, make a swatch of the black. Because really, black is the darkest any color can get, and that is the absence of light. So any color can become black if there's no light. And then I want you to slowly release the pressure just like you did with the blue, or just like we learned with value, until you get to around the middle where it just kind of doesn't make sense anymore to have black in there. And what's happening is you're creating shades of the color. We're going to do the same thing with white to create tints of the color. So I'm going to make a little swatch of white, even though it's kind of hard to see on the white paper. And then I'm going to continue to add a lot of pressure until I get closer and closer to the middle where I'm releasing pressure, and it's just a lighter tint, or like a darker, I guess rather, a darker tint of that color. And what's happening is you're creating what's called a tone. So in the middle here, this is a tone. So a tone is gray added to any color, right? It mutes the color, it darkens the color. So I'll give you an example. If I've got, actually I'm just going to go ahead and make gray. So I'm going to take my black, not a ton of pressure just because I want to be able to mix these pretty well. I'm going to put white on top of that to make a gray, of course. And then I'm going to put blue and mix blue with that. And what this has created is a tone of the blue. So this right here is a tone. Okay, mixed with gray. All right, tones are great. Tones are very useful. Tones are really useful in creating contrast and creating contrast between regular sort of bright colors and muted colors. So there is a time and place for it, but then I also wanted to explain another type of tone, which is called a complementary tone. So what we want to know is, what are complementary colors? Well, complementary colors are colors that are opposite to each other on the color wheel. So that's where this kind of organization kind of helps us out a bit. We know that primary and secondary colors, those are going to be the ones across each other on the color wheel. So red and green, for example, those are complete opposites. So I know, hey, those are complementary colors. Only primary and secondary colors are going to be complements of each other, and then only tertiary colors are going to be complements of tertiary colors. So hexagons are only going to be, in my case, going to be the ones that are complementary. So if I have maybe not organized this as well, but I've got these shapes, I know, hey, this and this one are definitely not it, because hexagons will go with hexagons and circles go with squares, right? So it's helpful to kind of figure out which goes with what. So what I want you to do at this point is go ahead and find two complementary colors. I'm just going to use blue, and what's the opposite of blue? Circle with a square. I've got orange. So I'm going to take orange. Those are going to be my complements. And I want you to go ahead and repeat what you did originally with your hue to make a value scale. So I'm going to do that right here, press as hard as I can, and release pressure until I have nothing. Releasing pressure until it's just basically white. Okay? And instead of adding white over here, oh, we forgot to label this. This is a tint. Instead of adding tints, you're going to add the complement. So the complement of blue is orange. So I'm going to make a swatch over here that is as dark as the orange goes. And then I'm going to go across the opposite way and release pressure. And what's happening is it's going to start mixing with the blue. And it's going to create a really nice, vibrant, complementary tone. And the great thing about that is that it creates a nice, like, darker version or a shaded version of the color without sacrificing any of the color. So this is a complementary tone. Okay, eventually you're going to be turning this in, so make sure you write your name on it, but I want you, again, with everything else that we've done with landscapes and stuff, in preparation for that, I want you to hold on to this so that you can use it and reference it as you need to. We are also going to be doing like a color-only project, so just hold on to it until we get to that point, but make sure your name's on it and keep hold of it so that you know where it is. Okay, so we've learned this skill. We've practiced color theory, so now I want you to apply it to a practice. So what I need you guys to do once you've finished this is you're going to go ahead and grab one of the square papers. There's some on the light table, there's some on the supply table over at the back of the room. So you're going to need this, and this is actually also kind of helpful. This is just the scrap that I cut off of this one, but it's great for like testing colors out and stuff, so I grabbed that just to kind of use later. And then another helpful thing that you're going to want to grab is probably a ruler, just because we're going to kind of grid this square out. So that's what you're going to need next. And then we're going to grab a pencil, and then something else that's going to be useful is make sure that you have your kneaded eraser, because we're going to need to pick up a lot of that pencil, that graphite, because it mixes in with the colored pencil and it kind of muddies up the color, and it stops you from being able to erase it when you don't want it, and it's just a big mess. So this is going to be helpful. So make sure that you have all of these things. Okay, first up, let's make sure that our name is on it. So, and your class, just in case it goes missing. So let's say this is 1B for this one, and then obviously if you're in 2B. And then this is going to be on the back, because you're going to use the entire page. So I'm flipping this over. This is going to be the front. This is going to be the back. Okay, next up, we need to kind of create a grid. And you can make your rows as thin as you want, but I'm just going to make it easy. I am going to just do inch ones. So the ruler is helpful in this because I'm going to make lines straight, but it makes it easy to measure it out. So I'm going to make 6 columns here, so I know exactly where to put these lines. So go ahead and do that on your square. And you're going to do it the other way as well. So these are vertical. We also want horizontal ones. You're going to have a grid. That's what a grid is. So I'm just going to go every inch. Okay. And then make some more lines. So we have a nice 6 by 6 grid. Okay, now like I said, we don't want a ton of that graphite on the paper, because it will mix with the problem that happens is that these colored pencils, these Prismacolor ones, are they're oil based, and so they pick up the graphite and it muddies up the color, and it doesn't end up looking the way that you're going to want it to look. So I'm going to take my kneaded eraser, I kind of make like a little log, and then I just roll it over it to pick up any of that extra graphite. That's helpful. Another way that you could do that is you could just pick it up this way. I just feel like this is a little easier, quicker too. So I'm going to do that. And it's kind of interesting once you look at your kneaded eraser, because you see all of those lines that it picked up. It's kind of cool to look at. Okay, so they're very faint lines now. They're not going to mess with the color that I'm going to be applying to this. So what I want you to choose first is 3 colors. I want one of those colors to be somewhat dark. So maybe purple is my first one. And this is going to be your background color. So I got purple for my background. Maybe I've got red for my other color that's maybe a little lighter. And then maybe I will choose, I'll choose red and blue. So a couple primary colors. It really doesn't matter. Just choose 3 of the original hues that we started with, original 12. So whatever color you decided to be your background color, and you guys can pause anytime that you need to, just because I know I'm kind of rushing. I'm trying to get through this so that you guys have this available to you tomorrow. But you're going to go to your top row with your background color, and then every other one you're going to color in this background color. And you're just going to map it out, so you don't have to color it in super brilliantly at first. In the end, you're going to want to refine it. But at first, just leave it like that, just so that you have it mapped out. Mapping it out is just going to make your life easier. You're going to skip a row, and then you're going to do the same thing on the next row, every other one. Like so. Skip a row, do it again. Okay, just like this. All right. What's next is you're going to use these colors. So the ones that are kind of isolated, So like these ones are kind of isolated and these ones are isolated. I'm going to choose a color for each one. So let's say that I want this to be blue. I'm going to choose my verticals going, my colors, my ribbon going vertically to be blue, and my ribbons that are going horizontally to be red. So I'll take my red here. And again, you want to do this lightly because at this point you're still able to erase this somewhat. But what we're creating here is a weave pattern, right? So, and this gets kind of tricky. You want to make sure that you're listening and paying attention to this. But honestly, even if you do mess up the weave pattern, that's not as important as your application of color theory. I want you to show me your understanding of creating light and dark with color, creating the illusion of depth with color. And if your grid here doesn't show a weave pattern, but it does show that, that's going to be what I'm looking for the most. But our goal is to make a weave pattern, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to start with my vertical ones. And you're just kind of thinking, okay, so my verticals are going this way, my horizontals are going this way, some are going over, some are going under. So let's say that I'm going to have these three, they're going over my red. So I'm going to actually color in 3 squares very lightly. Again, we're just mapping out right now. I'm not going to do it here because this one is going over. So now this one is going to get a chance to go under, which means that these 3 are going to be red. And again, pick up graphite as you go. You don't want your colors to sort of immortalize them. Okay, I'm mapping this out here. And of course, this one is going to be blue. So it's like this color is going underneath the red. Blue is going under the red here. And so now blue is going over the red here. So you just alternate. Like this. And what we're doing is we're mapping it out. We're mapping out what's called the local color. The local color is the main color of anything that you're creating on a canvas, on a paper, the main color of anything you're trying to create with color. So we're just mapping it out with the local color. Okay, so this blue is going over. Now it's going to have a chance to go under right here. So that means my red is going over right here. Not this, not here, but here. So it's kind of like going over into the edge. And now my blue is going to be going over right here. And you'll probably notice somewhat of a pattern with these colors, not just a weave pattern, but just like you're going to see these blues are staggered this way. These reds are staggered this way, going that way. So if you're following that pattern, it's probably going to work out. But again, if you're not getting this pattern so much today, it's not a big deal. I just want you to show me your understanding of color theory. And that's the main focus. So that one, this is going to be going over here. My red. See, it's like the staggered thing happening here. And then blue here. So now I've mapped it out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply what we've learned about tints, shades, tones, complementary tones, and then also what we've learned about light and dark and value previous to this. And we're going to make it appear as though these are going over and under and creating value and depth. So I'm going to show you with one of them. I'm going to start maybe with red here. So I'm going to give the illusion that this red is going over here and going under here. So if you think about it, if it's going under, that's where it's going to get the most amount of dark, right? Oh, I just broke that. So I'm going to make this dark here. And then just like we did with the sort of value scale here, you're going to think about adding pressure and releasing pressure. But you need, okay, so you're going to continue that idea where the more the pressure, the darker it is, until you get to the center where it's going over. And that's where it's going to be catching the most light. So it's going to get lighter and lighter as it gets to the center. And it might get even so light that I need to erase some of this. So I can take my eraser, erase near the center. Maybe not that much. Or I just need to soften that a bit. You want to think of a smooth transition of value. And then it's going to get dark over here as if there were another one happening over here. So it's just off the page. It's getting lighter as it gets to the center. Okay, so that would be sort of the beginning stages of one of them. And then I'm going to apply my knowledge about tints and shades so I can get my black and I can create a shade that is going to give that another little bit of an illusion of depth. So I'm adding that to the under, where it's going under the fabric. And I would do that over here too. I'm going to save this area though because I want to explain complementary tones. I feel like I need more red in here, so I'm going to add a bit more there. And then maybe even a little bit right here. And then I can add white to add my tint, which is going to create a lighter version of that color, right? Like we've been learning about. And then over here, I also want you to involve the complementary tone. So you have to find the opposite of your color. So I'm choosing red for that ribbon. So the opposite is green. So I'm going to take my green and I'm going to show how to create a darker version of that color with its complementary color. So I can take my green, add this on the other side. And I'm not saying do this on every side. I just want to see about 1/4 of your paper showing your understanding of the use of complementary colors to create darker values. Okay, so this is the great thing about this is we don't sacrifice any of that color, but we are still getting a darker value. Okay, so in the end, I don't have a finished one here, but I can give you some examples. So I've got one that I worked on today in my 2A class. I've got blue and yellow, but these ones are going, like wherever it is going over, you've got your highlight, wherever it's going under, it's getting the darker area. And then also, you might be wondering about these background colors. Well, once you have colored your ribbons in, you're just going to add that darker color. So for the one that I showed you guys today, I'm going to be just adding purple. And I'm just going to put a lot of pressure and just create just like a nice dark swatch of that for the background. But this is the idea. So you're just showing your understanding of color theory and applying it to this idea. And that's all that this is, and that's what you're going to be working on today. Okay? So we finished our color wheel, and now we're applying our knowledge to this. Okay? All right, well, hopefully that was not too confusing, and I will be back on Tuesday. Sorry I'm not there today. I just kind of had an emergency that I needed to get to. So I will catch you guys next week. Thank you so much.